How do you find balance living in this 3D slash 5D world? How do you live in a space with people who are still thinking in 3D while you're trying to navigate in 5D? How do you find balance when people are steeped in duality and polarity and are flooding forth these frequencies of lower vibrational things? How do we find balance? That is what this video is about. This is a discourse in how to find balance within yourself and outside of yourself while on the ascension. Bookmark, save this, come back to it. Every time you watch it, it's going to feel like something different. You're going to get a new level of awareness. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. We're going to be going just a little bit deep. I'm going to be showing you how to find balance through using symbols, very simple, basic symbols. But if you stay with me, I think you'll get it. This information used to be what's called esoteric, meaning only meant for the select few, but with the awakening of the planet and us choosing to be here at this time, think of yourself as the SWAT team. Like, you do this, you go into planets right when they're ascending and you hold the light, you hold the space, you hold the balance by your beingness. So here we go. This triangle represents your ascension process. It's essentially a pyramid. It's one of the many reasons why so many pyramids were placed all over the planet hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago, so that we would remember. The pyramid is facing up, and I want you to understand that upwards is analogous to within. You can't draw a picture of within yourself in the 3D. You're looking at images and symbols on a two-dimensional plane. You can't draw that as 3D. The reason why we look up, the reason why the triangle is pointed up but the pyramid is pointing up, is because it is analogous with looking within. There's no way of drawing looking within, so we point up. Up equals within. Got it? So then your ascension is like this pyramid, moving upwards. Now, I want to just deviate for a quick second. I want to talk about the idea of time. Most people think that time is linear. It's a straight line, like it's between point A and point B. But to have that mentality means that time has a beginning and an ending. That is a perception of time. And I think we're finding that that way of looking at time is quite antiquated. Another way of looking at time is that it is a spiral. It is constantly evolving and spiraling around and around and around. As such, you are not separate from time. You are one with time. I know we like to think of ourselves as static. For example, my name is Sean, and I've always been Sean. But Sean is always changing. Sean has atoms and molecules that are dropping off of him 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week. And he gets a brand new set of atoms and molecules every 7 years. Every time I have a belief, every time I change my thought patterns, I am constantly changing, or as Paul would say in the New Testament, I'm dying daily. I'm dying always, but I'm also living at the same time. I'm also always changing within myself. And so because I'm changing, it appears as though time is changing outside of me. I'm not the only one changing. Time is changing also. So time changes because I'm changing. Are you following me? So time is not just something that's outside of us. Time is something that is inside of us. And because it is inside of us, it is helpful if we begin to think about it, time, in a different way than a beginning and an ending, or an A and a B. It's helpful to begin to think about it as a spiral, constantly ascending. So if you look at this new pyramid, what you will begin to see is that there is a spiral inside of it. That spiral is you. That spiral is time. If you notice, the spiral is touching each pillar as it goes around. As it goes up, it touches each pillar. As it comes down, it touches each pillar. Each of these 4 pillars means something. Here's where the value comes in. The first pillar is your relationship to your physical body. When you begin to awaken, one of the themes that you'll begin to see in your life is you begin thinking about, okay, what am I eating? You begin looking inward and asking yourself questions. What am I drinking? I should be drinking more water. I should be drinking more liquids. What does it look like for me to eat less meats if you haven't started that journey? What does it look like for me to begin to eat more fruits and vegetables? You know, if we look at energy that comes from the sun, the first place that it hits is the trees. So it makes sense that, okay, I want to start eating more fruits and vegetables because these things are going to affect my physical body, allow me to hold more light, allow me to have more vibe, be more high vibe and live longer. I want to feed my body. I want to be mindful of this body that I've given myself at the beginning of time. This is just an avatar. I am not I am not just my body, I am light. I am more so light than I am my body, and I want to take care of this avatar. So how can I do that? By being mindful of my body and listening to its signals. And when it tells me I've been doing something for too long, I pay attention to it. Like, these are conversations you begin having when you begin ascending. And so this first pillar is your mindfulness about your body. Write that down. This is your mindfulness about your body. That's the first pillar. That's the spiral beginning to go around when you begin to awaken. As the spiral begins to move, we're going to hit the next pillar, which is your relationship with yourself and others. When you awaken, you begin to have conversations about who am I and how am I affecting other people, and am I being kind? Am I releasing judgment? Am I doing that work of others as I'm doing that with myself? We heard Jesus and Buddha talk about it all the time. Forgive others as you've forgiven yourself. It's not so much as anything to forgive as much as your mindfulness of how you are responsible as a sovereign one for every bit of the energy that you output and how it affects other people. And I want to be mindful of that. And this is when you start doing the work of, I don't know, carrying crystals, howling at the moon, and releasing things in your life and that just aren't serving you anymore. You're mindful of reading books. You're mindful of the information you're putting in your mind. You're mindful of how you are affecting other people. You might be doing natal chart readings. Holla at your boy if you're looking for one, by the way. You might be doing natal chart readings and trying to understand yourself and patterns better. So this second pillar are the lessons around your mindfulness around yourself and others. The third pillar has to do with your relationship of how you give of your service back to the world or to the community. You have to remember that we chose to come here. We asked Mother Earth, hey, we need a space with which, in this particular life, we can just get certain lessons that you probably can't get in many other places in the universe. As Mother Earth says, yes, you can come here and learn those lessons. And in exchange for you having the privilege of being here, I'm asking you to share what you have learned with others. And that is the state that we're in right now. It is our time to begin to share. What have you learned on your journey? What have you learned from these hard lessons that you've gotten, these challenging lessons, these things that you've been through? What have you learned? What have you gotten? Stop hoarding this information. Begin sharing it right where you are. There's nothing you need. You don't need education. It takes you nothing. It costs you nothing to begin sharing, to talk. You don't have to get your video edited. You don't have to do anything. Just begin sharing what you have learned where you are. You might not have even mastered a lesson. Just begin sharing, right? So that third pillar has to do with my relationship to my community, to the world, my service to the world. And some people that might comes and going to work every day, right? For people who are still asleep or are beginning to awake. For others, it's like, I choose to find a different space to share my worth or my value. So they might leave work and begin to find another space someplace else, like creating their own business or, investments or real estate or whatever, doing an art show or, whatever it is you feel inwardly that you were created to do. That conversation, that thing that within where it's like, if I don't get this out, I gotta get out this desire within me. And conversations on, if you're stifling that, if you're having self-doubt, or if you're having conversations on, I'm not good enough, or imposter syndrome, this is the pillar with which you begin having those conversations and lessons. And then as you do that work, you begin to spiral upwards. Again, the fourth pillar is your connection, your relationship to the sacred elements of the planet, earth, air, water, and fire. Do you respect and honor fire, not just as something that burns hot, but all that it means, and take the time to be one with it and commune with it? Do you get out in nature? Do you, are you hugging trees, or are you at least mindful of these things? Are you, are you getting out and going for walks? Are you feeling the air? Are you spreading conversations on the sun kills us and the sun causes cancer and all this other BS? This is the space where we begin to have those conversations on the respect for nature and the other kingdoms, the elemental kingdoms, the insect kingdom, the animal kingdom. How are you treating animals? Well, I guess that would be pillar 2, which is your relationship with others. But you understand the fourth one is the conversation on my relationship with the elementals, the sacred elementals of this planet. And how do I recognize those things within myself? And where am I most dominant? I'm a Pisces. My sun sign is Pisces, but I also have my top two is Taurus and Virgo, so I have some earth in there. I have three other water placements, so I'm mostly water. I'm water dominant. I'm mindful of water. I love water. I respect water. I drink water. I bathe in water. I speak to water. Water cleanses me, etc. But I could speak to the same for all the other elements, fire. And so my mindfulness around these things and conversation, learning about them and releasing old limiting beliefs begins to happen at this pillar. And then as you rise, you go again. You start back at base one. And this happens infinitely all the way up. And sometimes we drop down and spiral down. We've heard that before, spiraling down. In fact, part of the reason why we're in this three-dimensional plane right now is because we fell from fifth-dimensional frequencies so many eons of years ago that we are now beginning to spiral up. And this is called the ascension. You also have to understand that the earth, if you think of earth and its multiple timelines as a clock, Earth used to be at the 6 o'clock position, but she is beginning to arise upwards more towards the upwards towards the right, which is the 5 o'clock position. She's ascending. She was at her lowest. As she rises, we rise too. As we rise, she rises too. And the mindfulness of all these things, as you begin to find balance among all these conversations that are happening throughout your ascension process, throughout your day-to-day life, as you begin to find harmony between getting this lesson and then that one and then that one and that one, and you just keep spiraling up. You might spiral back a little bit and then spiral back up to the other lessons. This is how you find harmony between the 3D and the 5D, between heaven and earth, between this frequency of constantly feeling like we're vacillating between the two. You want to find harmony between those these two frequencies, 3D and 5D? You pay attention to the lessons that are showing up. And you don't resist them when they do show up, because they're inviting us to release things that are allowing us to go higher. And as you do that, you begin to spiral more and more, infinitely up, 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 up. This is the ascension. And this is how you find balance. It is in releasing judgments. It is releasing scarcity. It is releasing all lower vibrational things. And it is in allowing these lessons to come to us, not resisting them, paying attention to what's showing up with us and with life. And then as we get that lesson, we move on to the next one, we continue to spiral. As we resist the lessons that are showing up, it'll be easier for you to stay middle, to stay grounded, to stay in the middle way, the middle path. This is the way. It sounds like Star Wars. This is the way. Well, actually, Paul said it first in the Bible. In Acts, he said, Christianity, before it was called Christianity, it was actually called the way. If you look in Acts and you do a Google search for the way, you'll see Paul said it. The way is the middle way. In fact, that's the name of the Tao, the Tao. The little translation of it is the way, right? The balance between the two, the masculine and the feminine, the right and left and top and bottom and up and down, and Democrat and Republican, and right versus wrong and light versus shadow. The way is the middle. It is in understanding the pyramid structure of within, of myself ascending as time through me as me, because I am not separate from these things. I am one with it, and I'm ascending as these lessons. I'm ascending with the lessons. As I do not resist the lessons, the things that are showing up, that are upon these four pillars. Everything in your life, all of the lessons that are showing up, if you think about it, they can be characterized into these four pillars. As I'm mindful of those things and not resisting them, I find harmony between the 3D and the 5D. I hope this has been helpful. Drop a comment if this is helpful for you in any way. If you have any questions or thoughts, I also want to gauge to see if people want more teachings like this from me. And I hope this has been good for you. Let me know in the comments how this has helped you to find balance as it has for myself.